Police arrest ex-soldier for supplying arms to terrorists in Zamfara. Flood destroys houses, displaces hundreds in Plateau community. Emirates Airline restores Nigerian flights few hours to planned cancellation date. And on the foreign scene, at least 14 dead, dozens kidnapped in rebel attacks in eastern DR Congo. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. The police in Zamfara State have paraded a notorious kidnapper accused of various offences ranging from armed robbery, illegal possession of prohibited firearms and gun running. According to the police, the suspect, who is an ex-serviceman, was intercepted along Abuja-Kaduna Road. The Zamfara State Police Command Public Relations Officer Superintendent Muhammad Shehu, who paraded the suspect, said the alleged kidnapper specializes in armed robbery, kidnapping and gun running. The suspect, a 41-year-old ex-serviceman, Saeed Lawal, was arrested by the police with one AK-47 rifle and one AK-49 rifle. Other items recovered from the suspected kidnapper were 207.6mm rounds of live ammunition, 501 7.62 by 51mm rounds of general-purpose machine gun live ammunition, and 8 empty magazines.
(2022) at about 17:30 hours, Police Tactical/Escort Team attached to the Commissioner of Police, Zamfara State Police Command CP Kola Yusuf, PSC, acted on actionable intelligence that led to the arrest of the above-named suspect, who was an ex-service personnel of the Nigerian Army attached to 73 Battalion, Jangoza Army Barracks, Kano. The suspect was intercepted with a Pontiac Vibe vehicle with registration number KRD 686CY Lagos along Abuja-Kaduna en route Zamfara.
Meanwhile, police operatives in Katsina have burst an armed robbery syndicate, arresting 19 persons and recovering 13 vehicles in the process. The suspected armed robbers, who are said to have specialized in terrorizing residents, were arrested in Modoji area in Katsina metropolis. Abdullahi Yamadi reports.
The police command is happy with this arrest for two reasons. The first is because the residents of Katsina City have been having sleepless nights, all because of the nefarious acts of the suspected armed robbers. The command is also saying the suspects have been giving the police a serious headache as they constantly changed tactics from housebreaking to car snatching to armed robbery.
Residents, especially of the Katsina metropolitan area, were bedeviled with the activities of a syndicate that specialized in housebreaking, armed robbery and theft of motor vehicles. The command did not rest on its oath, but launched a manhunt for the devil criminals, and to God be the glory, it has succeeded in cracking down the syndicate terrorizing the states.
Several dangerous weapons were recovered from the suspect during the arrest.
The syndicate broke and attacked residents of the Nura Lawal M of Modoji Quarters, GRA Katsina, with a gun and other weapons, robbed him of his motor vehicle.
Amid incessant terrorist attacks, which have devastated most parts of Katsina State, the police, based on credible intelligence, have also cracked down on a terrorist syndicate alongside their informants and other collaborators. Honestly, I regret my actions. I have been in this terrorism, kidnapping, cattle rustling for over 3 years now. I have never seen a bad day like this. I regret it. We are too many on our group, and of course we used master key to steal vehicles and it is very simple using a master key. The police is, however, saying the successes being recorded in the fight against terrorism, armed robbery, and other criminalities are successful because of the support the command is enjoying from the public. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And heavy rainfall has destroyed many houses in Tudun Osi of Jos North local government area of Plateau State. The heavy downpour, according to residents, started in the afternoon when everyone was going about their normal activities. For more than a decade, the affected community has been experiencing such floods during each rainy season. Over 50 houses were said to be destroyed and 100 more completely washed away, together with their food items and other belongings. Some of the affected individuals who spoke to Trust TV said building back the community will be difficult, where they called on the state government to assist them with building materials to cushion the effects of the flood. Meanwhile, the Kano State Executive Council has approved and directed the immediate marking and demolition of all existing structures built on Kwarengugao stream in the metropolis. Also marked for demolition are drainage lines within and surrounding Kantunkwari Market, with a view to removing all obstacles that hinder smooth flow of both storm and wastewater in the area. State Commissioner for Information Muhammad Garba disclosed this while briefing newsmen on the outcome of the Council's weekly meeting held at the Executive Council Chambers, Government House, Kano. The Council also resolved that desilting and evacuation of all blocked drainages within the market and its surroundings, as well as removal of building materials deposited on drainage lines within the market. And still in Kano, nearly 24 hours since the building tragedy, traders and rescued victims of the Kano incident are expressing concern over the slow pace of the ongoing rescue operation. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibril reports that government authorities are hoping that there will be no more victims inside the rubble that has so far claimed 3 lives and injured 6. The report.
Fear, anger, and anxiety as some traders and rescued victims of the collapsed building in Beirut Road, Kano, begins to express concern over the slow progress in the rescue operations.
The situation is disturbing because we believe there are still people inside and work is moving too slow.
But the Kano State Emergency Management Agency assures that there is no cause for alarm because as per the agency's analysis, there might not be any other person trapped in the building.
Yeah, we are here yesterday night after around 11 o'clock when we confirmed from the leadership of the Traders Association here in Beirut Road that so far what we have rescued, about 8 of them, they don't expect there's anybody again. So this is why we raised our case to this morning when we continue with the clearance of the site. So we are now clearing outside, as you can see. This does not mean we will not go check again and see whether there's any leftover of the casualties.
So far, 3 people have died here, including an electricity worker who was electrocuted while disconnecting some cables around the markets.
Only one as of yesterday, I don't know of today. Only one. In fact, there are some of them who were even discharged yesterday, but the medical director is the one to confirm whether or not they are still in the hospital.
For now, a total of 8 people have been recovered from this building, while investigation to ascertain the possible causes of the building collapse commenced by the state government authorities. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And 7 family members have died in Gaura village in Yabo local government area of Sokoto State after eating breakfast. The head of the family, Malan Dambala, who said he lost his 2 wives and 5 children to the incident. Dambala, who works in Niger State as a laborer, received a call from one of his brothers asking him to come home at once. The devastated father said when he reached home, all members of his family, except for a little girl, were found dead. They were buried even before his arrival on Tuesday. Dambala said that one of his wives cooked a local delicacy called dambu for their breakfast, and all complained of stomach pain before they were rushed to the hospital. The food was reportedly left uncovered in the night, and the incident happened after breakfast the following morning. And to politics now, where reactions have continued to trail the continuous warning by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to politicians and political parties to desist from engaging in early campaigns before September 28th. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman speaks to some stakeholders in the nation's political space on culpability and prescribed sanctions.
Section 92 of the Electoral Law bars politicians and their political parties from engaging in any form of campaign ahead of the stipulated time, which is the 28th of September in the case of the 2023 elections.
If you do your investigation properly, you will discover that what we are doing is we are setting up our structures, strengthening them, and we are strengthening our structures. So what you saw us went to Nasarawa to do was just to, formally open the state secretariat of the party.
If the ruling party behaves responsibly, they will lead by example, and nobody will do it without being punished. But if the ruling party candidates are doing it, it's going to be difficult to stop the other political parties and other politicians from doing it. So it is something that the ruling party ought to have led by example.
But while the respondents continue to ponder on what constitutes campaign, how can such be tracked and who applied the sanctions, concerns remain on the impact of such contravention in the face of growing impunity on the nation's electoral space.
Even the English proper, if you situate the way the gatherings are described properly, you will discover that in the case of Labour Party, for instance, they will tell you 1 million man march. Then you look at APC, they will go and print caps and say 1 million man march like we saw in Lagos yesterday. We also saw a couple of days ago in Katsina and all those places. But for us, it is office commissioning outing.
INEC alone cannot do that. They need the collaboration and the partnership with other agencies, because INEC don't have prosecuting power. So they have to rely and work with other, agencies, police. They have to work with police. They have to work with all other security agencies and the judiciary in order to bring an end to this.
Other sections of the new electoral law also prescribed 1 million naira fine on both political party and individual politicians who contravene the law. It also provides for 12 months imprisonment as penalties for other breaches. Implementation, however, remained a major concern among stakeholders. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And crisis erupted on Wednesday at the Jabi Motor Park in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, between automobile spare parts dealers and scavengers. The fight broke out when some scavengers were alleged to have stolen some parts from shops of the spare parts dealers and shop owners. Trust TV crew was there and now reports.
This is Jabi Motor Park, one of the biggest markets where spare parts are sold in Abuja. The situation was chaotic. Gunshots rent the air, while tear gas flowed freely as police made frantic efforts to contain the situation. Sooner than later, few arrests of those allegedly involved were made. Many sustained varying degrees of injury from the issuing fracas, while properties were destroyed, with traders shutting down business activities immediately to avoid getting hurt. The Utako Divisional Police Officer said his men are on top of the situation.
Yeah, there was, I think, it's a sort of dispute, commercial dispute between mechanics, those artisans, that resulted to this. Within a response time of 3 minutes, we were here. We made some arrests, and others are on the run. So we were able to overpower, subdue, and take charge of the situation. Yes, peace have restored. As I said, it's just a domestic issue that was almost very out of hand.
While some arrests were made, The spare parts dealers said the activities of the scavengers have posed a serious threat to their businesses in the area.
All these Bambola people, every day they will pass in here, they will come and carry one thing and go. When you tell them to give you something, they will just ready for fight. And they have been doing it for the past 1 month. I don't know what they've been doing. They've been doing it for the past 1 month. They will be passing now in their group. They will pass here. They will just come and carry one thing here and go in. Give my car. They will just go.
Scavengers, popularly called Babambola, are a group of young boys who moved around the city center with super sacks in search of scraps, unused irons, electric parts, and others that fall within the purview of their transactions. But over time, they have been implicated in stealing valuables both in residential and marketplaces. This had led to the banning of the activities of scavengers in the capital city by the Federal Capital Territory Administration. But from the look of things, the outlawed group of scavengers is not ready to be phased out. Nana Muhammad, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still ahead on the news, the menace of street hawking. Details of this and more after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's recap our top stories. Police arrest ex-soldier for supplying arms to terrorists in Zamfara. And flood destroys houses, displays hundreds in Plateau community. And moving on to other news now. A 3-year jail term awaits prosecuted motorcycle riders, popularly known as Okada riders, and their passengers, as the second phase of the ban in 4 local government areas of Lagos State begins. This, according to the Commissioner for Transport, Frederick Oladende, is in line with the provision of Section 46, subsection 1, 2 and 3 of the Transport Sector Reform Law, adding that prosecuted riders will also have their motorcycles impounded and crushed in public view. The Commissioner, who spoke on behalf of the Ministerial Committee on Okada, implored the public to join hands together with the state government by complying with the Okada ban, which is geared towards combating the menace created so that sanity can return to the state. Lagos State government had on August 18th announced the extension of the ban on Okada in 4 more local government areas of the state and their respective 5 local council development areas, with effect from September 1st. Now, experts have described street hawking by minors as a vivid capture of child neglect and exploitation by parents and agents who push young children into what has for them become a business for not only survival but for material gains. In this report, Trust TV's Kabir Lawal takes a look at the street hawking, especially between the age group of 8 and 15 years in the Federal Capital Territory. The report.
The phenomenon of street hawking has considerably increased throughout the world and most especially in Nigeria. Every year, billions of individuals, mostly female, are forced to submit to servitude. In urban cities where the business is commonly believed to be poverty-motivated thrives, children and women, who are the major role players, face different risks, especially rape, accident, ritual activities, as well as loss of education opportunities. However, parents have been cautioned to desist from sending their ward street hawking, as it is against the Child Rights Act, which has been domesticated in more than 30 states of the Federation.
The economic situation is really dwindling and is going down, and which is also contributing to making a lot of parents send their kids out on the street. But I would say on the part of the government, they really have a major role to play because they are the guardian of these children. If we have better laws in place that protects the Child Act and that has strict punishments to those who default these laws, I believe it can go a long way to curbing this issue.
However, parents decreed the lack of employment and economic hardship as some of the reasons why they indulge their wards in street hawking to be able to put food on the table. They made desperate plea to government to regulate the rising inflation currently in the country.
Kids should be in school. They shouldn't be seen hawking at about this time of the day. Even if they have to do it, it shouldn't be during school hours. Yeah, I understand this is summer, but I mean, the government should do something about it. Ensure kids go to school.
I think being government now develop interest in this Nigerians individual and creating job opportunity. All this one will not continue.
Government is at the center of it all because without the government, there's nothing the masses can do. Without a strong law in place, there's nothing that can be done. And then you see some children who are on the street. Some of them don't even have parents. How are such children supposed to survive? I feel like the government should make provision, maybe in its budget, that caters for such kids.
Some of the underage children that spoke to our correspondent said the economic situation of the country has made them come out to sell things on street, adding that most of the time their teachers are not available in the school. My parents are not here, but I stay with my uncle, and he has been of help to me. Most time our teachers in the village are not there when we're in school, which made it very difficult for us to learn. My parents are not rich. We have to keep food on the table for ourselves. And I have no option than to arm out and help my parents despite the economic situation. Street hawking is a universal phenomenon which requires urgent attention from all and sundry as it distorts child's development and government policies. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And less than 24 hours to flight cancellation to Nigeria, Emirates Airlines has announced the reinstatement of its flight operations to Lagos starting September 11th. The airline said this in an email to customers on Wednesday. The development comes almost a week after the federal government released the sum of $265 million to foreign airlines in the country to settle outstanding ticket sales. A statement from Emirates said inbound flights from Dubai to Lagos and outbound flights from Lagos to Dubai will recommence from Sunday, 11th September. Emirates said Lagos flights after 30th September will be advised in due course. And now for a look at the foreign scene, where suspected rebels have killed at least 14 civilians and kidnapped more than a dozen others in an attack in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. An army spokesman confirmed the attack on Wednesday, which took place in Ituri province on Tuesday evening, and blamed it on the Allied Democratic Forces, a Ugandan militia active in eastern DRC since the 1990s, which has pledged allegiance to the ISIL group. The army killed 5 fighters and rescued a 5-year-old girl who had been kidnapped. About 15 farmers were also missing, and several other people who cannot be found and are not responding to calls. The ADF stages frequent deadly raids on villages in eastern Congo, despite joint operations by the Congolese and Ugandan armies to stamp it out. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe to watch us live on YouTube and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.